Paige, I'm an alcoholic. And thank you guys so much for having me. Words cannot express the gratitude that I have to be here with you guys today. It is an incredible privilege for me to be here in Vancouver with you guys here today. And what a privilege to be able to speak on the only requirement for membership. And that only requirement is a desire. Now, you see, the third tradition, with our traditions, we got a short form, we got a long form. And in the third tradition, in the short form, it says the only requirement for AA membership is a desire to stop drinking. And when I have a look at the traditions, I look at them through three lenses, sometimes a little bit more. But the first lens is, what does the tradition mean for me? Because I'm selfish and self-centered. What about me? And the initial reaction from the short form of the third tradition is, y'all are stuck with me. Sucks to be you. That's a you problem, not a me problem, is what that is. And then I look at, what is my responsibility to the tradition? Because as a recovered member of Alcoholics Anonymous, as somebody who has been afforded the privilege to be able to be sober, to be able to be free from a hopeless dilemma, an illness that ravishes every area of my life and even my family's life. Anyone who comes into contact with me, man, I owe that tradition that allowed me to be here a responsibility. And then I also look at it, what does this tradition mean, not just within the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous, but what does this tradition mean in all areas of my life? Now, I'm going to read the long form because I'm a nerd, and y'all haven't stopped me yet. So, the third tradition, long form. Our membership ought to include all who suffer from alcoholism. Hence, we may refuse none who wish to recover. Nor ought AA membership ever depend upon money or conformity. Any 2 or 3 alcoholics gathered together for sobriety may call themselves an AA group, provided that, as a group, they have no other affiliation. And I'll tell you what I was like when I got here. You see, I came to Alcoholics Anonymous with a whole lot of andas. You know what I mean? I'm an alcoholic anda. And I came with a whole lot of yeah buts. You guys know what I mean? Yeah, but he was worse than me. Yeah, but I'm young. Yeah, but like, it's not that bad. Yeah, but. Anyone? Some yeah buts? Right? Oh, I had buckets of yeah buts. And I came, I promise you, I was not coming to the church basement community centers like soaring on the wings of success. I came here and I was beaten and I was broken. And I desperately wanted to belong, but I didn't want to be a part of you. And I would do this thing. Now, I hear it's a thing we do in Calgary, but it would never happen in Vancouver. But it's this thing that I would do, and it's called judging the speaker. Yeah, you guys know. And I would do that, and I would hear some jerk like me nattering on, and I think, whoa, I am not as bad as her. I don't belong. This isn't for me. And it would literally be the next person to share, and I'd think I'm not as bad as him. And I was looking for all the ways that I wasn't like you. I was looking for all the ways that I was different. I was comparing my andas. I was comparing my yeah buts, and I was dying. And what happened for me is it was made as clear as it needed to be for an alcoholic of my type. On page 44, we have 2 statements that we can turn into questions. And they were so simple, they pegged me between the eyes. They cut through all my delusion, all my denial, all my andas, all my yabbats, all the ways that I was not like you, and I could see myself for who I truly was. In the first paragraph on page 44, it talks about this idea that we hope we have made clear the distinction between the alcoholic and the non-alcoholic. If, when you honestly want to, you find you cannot quit entirely, or. And I'll be honest, I'm an and sort of gal. I am not an or sort of drinker. I am an and. But or. If, when drinking, you have little control over the amount you take, you are probably alcoholic. And so what is asked of me is to lay aside all of my andas, all of my yabbats, all the ways that I think that I'm different, and look specifically at my relationship to alcohol. is my experience, and I like to start with the second question because I'm difficult, which is no surprise for anyone on the committee that's been dealing with me. Woo, let's go watch birds. I am a delight. That's not true. But that second question, what happens once I start to drink? And here's my experience. What happens once I start to take a drink? What happens to me is this. You guys know what I'm talking about? Do you all know that does not happen to any sort of alcoholic or non-alcoholic? They take a drink and they're not like, oh boy, a solution for life. I can't wait. They're like, yeah, that's great. I'm feeling it. I should probably slow down. Their red light is a green light for me. See, I take a drink and I get that, if only for a moment. And then what it is like is it's like a little switch that goes off in the back of my head, and that tells me more. And the more that I drink, the louder that more gets. You see, I take a drink, and that first drink demands a second. And that second insists on 4, and that fourth drink will not relent until I've had 8, and so on and so forth. You see, I take a drink, and I cannot control the amount that I take. Now, if you're like me, and you're trying to duck and dodge the membership requirements and thinking, man, I especially don't want to be like Paige. Yikes, what are they like in Calgary, right? If you're like me, you're sitting there thinking like, hey, wait a minute. Back in 94, back in 86, back in 2020, I had 3 drinks and I stopped. And it's important, right? And it's like, it is a momentous occasion. You know, I had 3 drinks, my pants were dry, my shoes were on. Oh, you know what I mean? And I'm thinking that disqualifies me. But you see, I'm looking for the exception, not the rule. Because if you were to ask a non-alcoholic, could you tell me a time where you controlled the amount of drinks that you took once you started to drink? And they would tell you every single time. Now, they might have a story, and God bless them, it's one. This one story, maybe it was like a Halloween or like a New Year's, where they got a little too tipsy and they want to try to match those drinking stories. Oh, bless their heart, they try, you know what I mean? But their rule is that they control it every single time. And my exception is those few times where I was able to control it. But I never knew when that was going to be. And the truth of the matter is I never wanted the consequences that came. I never wanted to be the person that I became, to do the things that I was doing, to cross those lines that I crossed in the sand. And again, if you're like me, you see, drinking for an alcoholic is a lot like playing Russian roulette. And what happens is when I start playing Russian roulette, there's a lot of blanks. There's not too many bullets in the chamber. But the longer I drink, the more bullets that get added. And by the time I end up in rooms like this with people like you, I mean, every single chamber's got a bullet and off I go and I can't stop. And is that my experience? Is that my experience with alcohol? That I don't know what's going to happen, but more often than not, that allergy takes me. If I've had any experience of that allergy, that's what we're talking about. And that says, and I'll go to the first question. Now, again, I'm an and sort of drinker. But the or is what happens when I try to stop. And you see, I don't know about you, but I would scrape myself up off the bathroom floor. And that, I promise you, that is me trying to make it a little classy, because, you know what I mean? Like, it's normally behind a dumpster. Pinky's up, though, because I'm a lady. You guys, yeah, right? And I would scrape myself up off the bathroom floor. And with everything that was in me, I would say, I never want to drink again. I never want to do it again. And can we think back to any time in our life where I said, I don't want to do it again? Or any time in my life where I said, I just need to stay sober for this. And if I have any experience where I have said, I do not want to drink again, only to have a drink in my hand, it is very likely I have the obsession of the mind. And here's my experience. When I put down the drink, when I am as sober as I am today, but my illness is untreated, I have a thought. And that thought will speak to me in my own voice, and that thought is a lie. And that thought tells me this time will be different. It tells me nobody will ever know. It tells me I just got to get it out of my system. I'll go on a good bender. I'll have a real good surrender. It looks like, there's no alcoholics in Vancouver. It'll be different, right? It looks like if you're feeling the way that I was feeling, if you're going through what I was going through, you'd have to drink too. It looks like a thought that is on me all day. Take a drink, take a drink, take a drink. But it also looks like a case of the suddenlies. I'm out there living my life. I got a drink in my hand, and I do not know how it happened. And you see those two qualities. And in the doctor's opinion on page 44, it does not say and, it says or. Man, if that is sounding familiar, it sounds like I belong. Now, what I will say is, here is my experience. I do come with andas. I do come with I am an alcoholic anda. And if you come here and you find a solution in Alcoholics Anonymous, well, actually, I won't tell you what to do. But I'll tell you what I would encourage myself to do, which is what I do, because, I got to do it, is if there is a fellowship that maybe I could be of help to, a fellowship that I could be of benefit to, a fellowship that maybe I don't want to go to because there's no solution. There's barely any meetings. There's not a lot going on. Man, get the solution and I can bring it to them. You see, Alcoholics Anonymous has given me a life that I did not earn, I did not deserve, I did not become worthy of. And of course, I get to come and have this experience, but the experience will fade away if I don't give it to others. Man, I get to be a light bringer, a joy bringer. I get to bring the solution to those who are trapped in the darkness, just as I was. And that is where the miracle happens, when I show up for those who do not know that there is a way out. But I also believe that my responsibility to the third tradition is to have an understanding of this illness, but deeper than that, to have experience with the solution, to offer these 12 steps as a way of life, to produce that promised spiritual experience, that way out, to those who do not know there is one. And I can't do that if I'm miserable. And I can't you guys know what it's like when you go to a meeting? And then there's that old timer, and you don't have a cigarette next to them because you're worried they're going to go up like kindling, like, oh boy, don't smoke next to that guy. And they're like, if you want what I have, you got to do what I do. It's like, no, thank you. I don't want. No thanks. Right? And so what is my responsibility? And of course it is to welcome the newcomer. Of course it is to bring that grace, that unconditional love, that compassion, that kindness. But also to be a demonstration of these 12 steps, to be a demonstration of this way of life. Because there are people who are dying in and out of the rooms because they don't know how to get well. And I can't give it to everyone, but I can do my best to offer it to those who want it. And then just to wrap up, because I'm not doing too bad for time. Not doing great, but I'm not doing too bad. We're landing the plane. He's our baloney. He's going next. We're the bread. So sorry. I look at the tradition as how does it apply outside of the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous? And how Tradition 3 applies is I have membership in many areas of life. I am a member of a family. I am a member of a community. I am a member of a society. I am a member of the human race. And can I show up and to simply be a member, focused on what can I bring? What can I give? How can I help? There's this idea, like when we start getting into the work, when we start getting into the steps and we really dive into inventory, there's this incredible moment that happens when I start saying the resentment prayer. And actually, even before the resentment prayer, it says that they, like ourselves, were sick too. Though we didn't like their symptoms and the way they disturbed us, they, like ourselves, were sick too. We are all human, we are all fallible, and we are all going to make mistakes. And what I feel like I am called to do is to love those that are difficult to love, because I was difficult to love, and I can't do that on my own power. My love is finite. I need to get myself out of the way and let that power, which is God, the higher power, creator, spirit of the universe, flow through me. That unconditional love. Because I am reminded that the God of our own understanding, that we come to experience, higher power, creator, spirit of the universe in Alcoholics Anonymous, That power doesn't have grandkids, only kids. There is no degree of separation, and I am reminded that I will never look in the eyes of someone that God does not love. And I know there are days where it's tempting to be like, not looking, not looking. But that is what we get to experience. And that is what I experienced when I got here. Unconditional love, a grace that I did not earn, I did not deserve, and a way out of the living hell that I was in. And now I get to spend my time giving it back to those who need it most. Thank you for the opportunity to share.